Hello my friends and welcome. As I said to you yesterday, we have the good update from Ruzzian. As it confirmed by the deep state map resource, our guys liberated the village and Russians just ran away. Let's check out the timeline. So it was yesterday and it is today. You see how the situation changed for the last 4 days. Ukrainian army advanced quite fast in that position. Why was it possible? Because Ukraine broke through the Russian defense, which is mostly concentrated on the northern part of Ruzzian. There were 4 of the attack attempts performed by the Ukrainian army, and finally our guys made it. They broke through the Russian defense, and finally, with the help of lots of the artillery shells and lots of the JDAM bombs, the Russian forces were totally demolished. By the way, part of them decided to leave Ruzzian, but all of their infantry vehicles and tanks were kaput. So they had to run using their own feet. It was their mistake because they should have just surrendered to Ukrainian side. In that case, they would have saved their lives because Ukraine concentrated the fire on this small crossroad. So the retreating Russian forces were totally demolished over there. Just few Russian soldiers made it to their Russian control positions. I've published the actual drone video on my Telegram channel. I cannot publish it over here, but I can tell you what happened there. Russia actually formed a big convoy, more or less. There were around 30 of the soldiers. It was also their big mistake because they should have spread into small groups, not more by 4 people. After they left Ruzzian, they were more or less okay, and there was no fear that at this distance they could be targeted. But indeed, Ukraine used the artillery just on this crossroad. The Ukrainian forces used the standard munition plus cluster munition. So there is not much left from that Russian convoy, if you may call the walking soldiers the convoy. So what conclusions we may take from this situation? The Russian command still doesn't care about their own soldiers. The evacuation wasn't properly organized, it was just running of the Russian soldiers somewhere to the south where they potentially might have reached the Russian positions. All of the Russian transport was lost. In its turn, it increased the infantry losses. So what should have been the proper actions for the Russian command to act in this situation? Let's speak from that perspective. After they lost this defense line that was really robust, but finally they lost it, they should have started the evacuation from the village immediately, using all of the vehicles, tanks, etc. to take out their forces. Because even for me, and I'm not a military expert, it was understandable 3 days ago that Russia would lose this village very soon, and everything goes as I predicted it. But now they lost not just the village, but the entire army group that was located over there. And that obviously lowers the morale of the Russian army in general, because everyone now understands that Russia lost Ruzzian plus their army in Ruzzian. The Ukrainian strategy is not like that. Let me show you the example. So there was the Russian breakthrough over here. They took part of the land and they're still controlling the territory behind the river. They took a couple of the villages over here, Nadia, Novoyehorovka, and the Ukrainian army just ran from those positions very fast in like 3 days. So Ukraine saw the resources that Russia started to use for that attack and withdraw the army from this place to the main defense line. Obviously, there were some of the small groups fighting in this area plus artillery fire on the Russian positions. That fire was enough to stop the Russian assault, and then with more reinforcements, Ukraine started the counterattack, taking back all of those territories. This is the awesome job from the Ukrainian command. That is how it should be. As you see, our generals are very flexible, they take non-starter decisions. Russians are just, okay, we should hold there and stay till the last soldier, or we should attack also till the last soldier. For example, what was the point to waste 25,000 Wagnerites plus lots of the regular army soldiers in Bakhmut? Yes, they've took the city or what is left from it, but Ukrainian army assaults towards it, and again we perform the counterattack with the risk for the Russian army being encircled. Well, now Russia does everything to stop the Ukrainian assault. They send more forces to Bakhmut, so Ukrainian artillery has more job to do. Basically, we're melting the Russian army in the Bakhmut city. As for me, the Bakhmut city is the big mousetrap for the Russian army. And again, if we speak about the strategic perspective, look at the distance from Bakhmut till the nearest very important cities like Slavansk, Kramatorsk, Drushkivka, Konstantinovka, it's very far away. Russia has absolutely no chances in its current state to reach those settlements. It's not possible. And for Ukraine, it's the main defense line in Donbass. Without breaking it down, Russia is unable to take control over the Donetsk Oblast that they proclaim to be the Russian territory. The other conclusion we have from Urozhaine is that we need lots of the artillery shells. Only with the help of artillery plus the aviation bombs, by the way, we were able to liberate this land. Only with the infantry, armored vehicles plus tanks, it could have been the bloodbath. Well, it actually happened, but not for the Ukrainian side. Alright, the next village for Ukrainian army to liberate is Zavitne Bazhane. As you can see, it's kind of small, there are just few of the buildings, but it has the natural obstacle, the small river over here and the bigger one over here. The good thing for Ukraine that our forces may advance from Staromayorsk and also from Urozhaine simultaneously from both banks of the river. And judging on the size of the village, I think it could be liberated very fast. However, we also need to think about this area. It is still controlled by the Russian forces. As you can see, there are lots of the forest lines that Russia used as their defense. There was also the fighting for Priyutne village, but our forces are still behind this river. So as you can see, the natural obstacles play the great role. The problem now that Russia uses the dirt-filled roads to deliver supplies into this territory. And there is no major road or major bridge that Ukraine may target to eliminate the supplies. So the hot summer weather is good for the assaulting side, but also it is good to provide supplies for our enemy. I predict that Ukraine slowly but firmly will advance in this area. Here we also have the natural obstacles. As you can see, they all play a great role. The frontline borders mark it clearly. So maybe as the variant, Ukraine may advance from the Staromayorsk towards this hump. But in all of that area, the main thing is to liberate Staromlinivka. It is the biggest village over here. It has the very important crossroads that's for the autumn time. Also, there is the Russian supply hub, plus it is the last big village on the way to reach the Russian defense line. The main defense line, let's say. Looking at this picture, the counteroffensive of Ukrainian army goes already for 2 months, and Ukraine was able to liberate all of that territory, but it's the long way to go to penetrate the Russian defense. We broke through the first defense line, but the main one is unreachable for now. That is why I have the doubts if Ukraine is able to make this mission completed this year. We have the article in The Times that confirms my conclusion. They say that for sure Ukraine is winning this war because we have the initiative right now, but it won't be over by Christmas. Unfortunately, Russia has lots of the resources still, and this war may continue even for years. That is why our partners, our allies, our friends are preparing Ukraine for the future battles. There is now the hard work to prepare Ukraine for the spring counterattack. We all understand that because of the weather, the current counterattack will slow down to the freezing point in November. The new counterattack, or it's better to call it the assault operation of Ukrainian army, might be started in April. The Russian Major Tomov, also known as the Major Tom, was found. He was imprisoned by the Ukrainian soldiers during the landing operation in Kazachi Lahiri. In his short interview, he calls the Russian army to leave Ukrainian territory and perform the same steps as Prigozhin did, but this time maybe reaching the Moscow. One more video is published where the Major Tom gives up the Russian positions on the enemy shore. Nice job and good cooperation from the Major Tom. Anyways, he'll be prosecuted by the Ukrainian court. In future, he might be exchanged for not one but many of the Ukrainian soldiers. However, after he opened the Russian positions, he could be persecuted in Russia. The last night there were 2 of the big kabooms in the Kherson region. Russia lost 2 of the ammunition depots. Ukraine non-stop continued to cut supplies for the Russian army. That is why our army little by little but moves forward. The Russian Navy, or it's better to call them the Russian pirates, decided to board the civilian ship. This vessel was transporting some goods, maybe to Ukrainian port or maybe not. We are out of this information, but they were stopped 30 nautical miles away from the shore of Turkey. According to the latest information, the ship is Sukra-Okan, it was in Ismail Ukrainian port and was going to Istanbul. As you can see, the Russian soldiers detained the crew just on the deck. Firstly, this civilian vessel was stopped by the Russian military ship, and the Russians even opened the fire but didn't hit this vessel. After that, Russia sent the K-29 helicopter to land their special forces on board. They performed some sort of the inspection of this vessel and left. The civilian vessel continued its way to Istanbul port. It is definitely outstanding unlawful actions from the Russian army in international waters against the international vessel with international crew, waiting for the reaction from the Turkish side. Alright, Poland is very serious to deploy the new military army near to the border of Belarus. They sent lots of the vehicles, lots of the artillery systems and infantrymen. From what I see, Poland could be the only country in European Union that truly prepares for the war with Russia. They increased their military budget by 2 times. They ordered lots of the tanks, lots of the other systems and air defense as well. They want to increase their army also by 2 times. Actually, that's encouraging because Russia sees the huge force in Eastern Europe. But I don't think that Russia is capable to attack any kind of the NATO member countries after Ukraine. They are not even able to secure Ruzzian village. But they may of course perform some sort of the provocation attacks or sabotage attacks. About the Wagner group, British intelligence says that it's likely moving towards downsizing of the unit, let's say, because they have the problems in financing this big organization and Kremlin definitely refused to pay for them. So the most of the payments could be done by the Belarusian authorities. It actually contradicts with official resources of the Wagner army. They say they announced the new hirement of experienced Russian soldiers. Well, maybe they want to change some of their people for more experienced ones. One of the Russian ex-KGB high-rank officers says that Prigozhin has all of the chances to become the next president of Russia, or he could be eliminated by the current Russian leader. On his opinion, there are just 2 way outs for the destiny of Prigozhin, let's say. Russia has started to use the new modified versions of the Shahed drones, which are produced in the Russian Federation. There are just minor changes from the standard Iranian-made Shahed drones, but the crucial electronic and hardware components are still made in the United States of America, in some of the European countries, and also in China. Somehow those sanctioned products still find their way to the Russian Federation. Let's briefly mention Robotyne. There are no changes in that village for today. So even though it is smaller than Urozhaine, but Russia built the defense lines over there, so it's harder to get it under control compared to Urozhaine. Anyways, I'm sure that Ukraine will have the success over there 100%. My friends, don't forget to press the like to this video, and also if you want to support my job, you may check out the links in the video description just below. Special thanks for my Patreon supporters and also the sponsors of my YouTube channel. My friends, I wish you all a peaceful sky wherever you are, and have a great time.